let me decide on this power steering. Go back here. All right, so I thought I'd start off today out of frame and then walk in. So after I packed up yesterday, obviously folded up the grass, shut the bonnet. We need to finish this off. So I haven't actually disconnected the exhaust or the shifter yet because lazy. So first thing I'm going to do is I'll unroll the grass, get under there and do that. Watch out for the power steering fluid, which looks like it might have stopped dripping. Maybe. We should give this thing a clean up while it's out too, but I don't know if I want to. So, let's do it. Spoiler alert, took the lines off. Got it out here on the back lawn where the kids killed that spot with their swimming pool, so grass is already dead, EPA is already on my ass, so giving this thing a spray, a degreaser, get the pressure washer out, clean that one up. This is my good subframe. I don't know about these control arms, whether they're factory or not. Can't say I've ever had them apart. The 180 control arms differ from the other 206s. They've got a solid rear bush, I believe it is. There's like a spherical joint, rose joint, whatever. And then the front ones are stiff. The GTI, they're not 180, the 138 has two stiff bushings. All the other ones have two floppy bushings, I guess, whatever. So there is a couple of different types of control arms. These all come as one piece with the bushes in them and the this thing. Yeah, so interesting. All right, cleaned up the good one, cleaned up the spare one that's way over there in the distance. I got plans for that one. I'm going to strip it down and clean it up better. But for the meantime, I'll inspect the parts on this one and make sure they're all good. You can see by the way I cleaned up, this car's definitely in better condition than that other one, so I think this rack is definitely good. I've replaced the inners and outers on it. Rack cleaned up way better. Control arms look better. I'm pretty sure that one's had new control arms on it. They're probably the cheapest, crappiest things out there. They probably don't have the spherical hard bushing in the back. They're probably just GTI ones because these ones are pretty hard to get, the 180 ones. And if that one guy at home that's still following along is building a 180, this is another difference between the 180 and the 138 is this panel in here, this reinforcing plate, which also picks up the exhaust mount. That's not on the 138 cross member. If we tiptoe through the pile of parts here, I've got a 138 cross member here. Obviously it's not on there. Alright, so the exhaust and the shifter are out. You've already seen it, I didn't show it again. This is what I was talking about with the exhaust mod. So obviously this bend here used to go the other way, and then that bend there used to go back this way and then up and over. And just by cutting and flipping those bends, you're able to make the exhaust come out the side. And then I just cut that hanger off the back, which is one of their big long ones that sort of loops around. Cut it off, put the rubber on and weld it up, and the exhaust used to just sort of sneak out here. This one was rusty when I did it, so the welds are how you going, and it's even rustier now. It's completely rotted through, so it's pretty much useless. I don't know if that muffler's any good or not, but one of the reasons, and I bought this other, well, not one of the reasons, but one of my justifications for buying these cars is these catalytic converters. So these older 2000 era catalytic converters off the high performance engine, the high flow cats, are full of precious metals, and they're actually worth quite a bit. The price on catalytic converters has dropped a lot recently. These ones used to be worth $300. They're down to about $200 now. But yeah, it's good to know these sorts of things. If like me, you're quite poor, and this is just one of my side hustles is buying and wrecking cars. It's handy to know that what these catalytic converters are actually worth. Plenty of people on Marketplace buy them. You can actually download an app, pay a small fee, and you can just punch in the code off the catalytic converter, or often it goes just by the style of them as to what they're worth. So yeah, good thing to check out. So that was, if you were buying one of these for $600 and it's got a $300 cat in it, and there's $100 worth of scrap steel in it, and then you might have $300 wheels, $300 seats. There's profit. The rest of it's more profit, depending on how many people on Marketplace you want to deal with. So that's my tip for today. Well, not really tech tip, but anyway, that's my tip on hustling for the day. Now, I wasn't able to get the car high enough with the jack. The jack topped out, and I had to jack up the pinch welds, which when I first got this car, I spent ages going through the pinch welds and straighten them out for all the other idiots that have jacked them up. I've got 700 mil between here and here. The engine is about 700 mil plus the dolly, so it's not going to work. So sketch factor is about to increase. I'm probably going to have to bring the engine crane around, hook it up to the chassis rail, and lift it up with the engine crane, get these jack stands a little bit higher. These jack stands are a bit sketchy. I probably should have got my better ones, but they're currently occupied. Over there. So we'll just keep doing dodgy shit over here and hope we don't die, or hope if we do die, hope that it's quick and painless. Let's do it. Now, what bad can go wrong here, and how can I die? The handbrake is on, so theoretically it can't roll anywhere. The whole front of it's off the ground, so it can't fall off the jack stands. I'm not going to rip that off. My crane's not going to fail. Alright, welcome back into the shop. Thanks for joining me. Today, you know what we need to do. You were here last time, which you probably weren't, and I don't blame you. We're up to putting that in there. And the sooner you get it done, the better. So, chop chop, buddy, come on, do it. Nah, jokes aside. I've been procrastinating on this all morning, if you've been wondering. There's a number of things I should do before I stuff that in there, but God knows I don't want to. I'll run you through a few of my hurdles. These are a 3-piece engine mount. They're a stupid design. Everyone that knows it knows it. You got this front roll stopper here. You've got the actual engine mount itself and a rear roll stopper. Guys that are in the know call it a Toblerone mount because it looks like a piece of Toblerone. That's not what it's supposed to look like. That's what mine looks like now. I have two which are both kind of the same. It's supposed to be a full triangle, and that goes on the back. I've got a bunch of these front ones. I've got this tab on here that stops them from spinning, and the tabs are just ever so slightly different. So that's supposed to go in there like that, and it sticks out and stops this from like that. I can't find these anywhere. I can find motorsport ones, but God knows I can't afford that right now. So I've tried stabbing one of these in, but the difference is like they're not even a huge difference in thickness. You can't even see that. So like, I don't know. I might just stuff that back in. Problem is you can't get to them when the engine's in. There's a nut that you've got to get to through this little pocket in the back here, and when the engine comes in, it sits sort of there like that, and there's no way in hell of getting in there. I will probably end up removing this pocket here anyway. They don't provide a hell of a lot of structural rigidity. Doesn't have it on that side. Actually, you know what? I don't know that I'm even allowed to remove that. Because it's on all 206s. I'm just thinking about it because you remember last time I discussed removing this bar here and making it a bolt-in piece, and I consulted a friend of mine who's like a tech guru for improved production racing, and he said you absolutely cannot do that. So if I can't do that, I assume that I can't remove that thing. Now, the other thing that I should be doing but don't want to is I really should remove this transmission off here and check the condition of the clutch. But you'll remember I left this drive shaft in here because they're a pain in the ass thing to get out, and you've got this speedo drive here, which isn't a speedo drive on this model anyway, but whatever. And then the engine's actually sitting on the gearbox. I'd have to lift it up and take it off with it swinging off an engine stand, which is never fun. And the main reason is that I don't have any bolts for the clutch is the main reason, which is a pretty terrible excuse because most people just reuse them anyway. They're not a torque to yield. So like the bolts that go in here are, technically you shouldn't reuse them, but a lot of people do. All new pressure plates come with new bolts. The bolts that go in your flywheel are a torque to yield. You should never ever reuse them like I do. Don't do what Donnie Don't does. Yeah, so those need to be replaced every time. Clutch bolts, I mean, it's a motorsport application. I'd prefer to not have sketchy old bolts in my clutch. And you can't obviously inspect the condition of the clutch with everything in. So that's the main reason I don't want to do it. And it's going to need a clutch at some point. But again, I can't afford it now. And it's obviously it's a lot easier to do now than when the engine's in the car, but it's not a huge pain in the ass with the engine in the car. And I drove this car as is, and it wasn't too bad. So I just really want to get this in here so that I've got something that is not this. My mental health's not great, and obviously I'm very time poor. I don't have time to clean up any of this shit between filming and working, and project creep. So I just want to get something achieved just for my own, mental stability. So just a quick thing. I've made a video on project creep. I think I've taken it down, but I might put another one up. This project was never meant to be this. It was meant to be the same basically as my black car, which was, race a bit, build a bit, race a bit, build a bit. The series that I was in, I didn't need a full-blown race car. I raced it stock. I put slicks on it, raced it again. Put coilovers on it, raced it again. I put the cage in it. I was able to build it up over time. And in Queensland, that was the thing because track days there were like $100, $120, $150, whatever. If you knew a guy that knew a guy, you could get a practice session for $50. Down here in Sydney, that's not a thing. A track day is going to set me back minimum $300 plus. That's like $250 just your session. Then all the stuff that goes along with it. Obviously, you've got to get to the track. You have to feed yourself while you're there. You have to put fuel in the car. There's going to be a bit of wear and tear. So, $300 to $400 just isn't feasible for a car that's not ready for me. That's, $150, $200. You can't buy parts for that is sort of the way I think of it. Whereas, you know, $300 to $400, that's a good set of brake pads. That's one tire. That's, you know, so the intention, you know, was to just do it once, do it right, build the car, get it ready, which is why it turned into a 3-year project like it did, which is now for some reason turned into a whole nother 3-year project. So that's one way that project creep sort of comes about. In my case, it was an economic thing. It wasn't running out of money, it was getting more money. So running out of money obviously is the main thing, running out of motivation. With this one here, it actually became, you know, getting more money. So I've also made a video about how I afford this, which you may or may not have seen. And my side hustles basically influenced my project creep on this one. So, you know, this has been a project over a couple of years, and each time I need parts, the cheapest way to buy parts for a car is to buy a whole other car. So, you know, when I needed a roof skin, that roof skin on there, that actually made me $1,000. You know, when I needed those wheels, they actually made me $200. When I needed a set of mirrors, I made another couple $100. So, you know, the car that had that roof skin on it, I bought for, I think, $600, and I sold it for like $1,600 in parts. Those wheels were $400, but the wheel it took off was $600. You know, things like that. This one here, this car here at the moment, I'm almost at the break-even point. So it hasn't actually, I haven't made money on it, but it hasn't actually really cost me anything apart from time and sanity. And I've still got all these parts. I've still got like a lot of stuff in here. If any of it was any good, I could make a lot of money out of this car, but none of this stuff's much good. So that's sort of where it is. You know, you make another $1,000, you know, things happen. You go, oh, well, I can put better brakes on, I can put better coilovers in, or I can do this, I can do that, I can, you know, upgrade the brakes. And it's a whole while you're in there thing as well. Like, well, you've got to pull apart, why don't you do this? Well, you've got to pull apart, why don't you, while you're in the engine, why don't you? So kind of getting hammered psychologically. I just want to get something done. I just want to get this engine in the car. I want to get it running. I want to feel like I've achieved something, so then we can get on to the fun parts. I don't want to record 10-minute intros like I have been, because God knows you don't want to hear me sit here and whinge. So I'm going to edit most of this out. I think we just got to jack this thing up a hell of a lot higher, because I can't take that panel out. And we'll roll the engine underneath like we did on the other one. And this isn't a good angle for you guys. Let's do it. Hi. Didn't expect you to see you here today. Thanks for dropping by. Welcome back. Not much has happened while you were gone, in case you were wondering. So I haven't actually cleaned up here. I've actually made more of a mess because I've just sort of gone through and taken photos of everything that's been lying around, posting it up for sale because I want to get rid of some stuff. Because I need a new engine. Well, I don't need one, but one's come up for sale and it's cheap. So what have I done? Not much. Plug the evap line back in, plug the fuel line back in, ran the main power wire over here for the starter. Haven't done that bolt up yet. Do not let me forget to do that bolt up there. This line here off the bottom of the throttle body, that's the brake booster line. The original one had a brake here and it had been dodged up with a little 6mm irrigation garden fitting with a screw in it and some duct tape, and so I replaced that with another one. Found a funny thing actually. So this one here's got this little port plugged. This came off of this car, which is an 04. The engine came out of an 05, and that there actually has a little rubber line on it with a vent on it. So that was interesting. I've put that up on one of the 180 groups to ask what that's about. And that is basically where I'm at now. So I need to put a drain pan under the power steering lines because as soon as I start it, that power steering pump's going to jack fluid out of there. I think these power steering pumps apparently shut off when they're not needed. So I don't know. I've heard rumors. I've never actually clarified that, but apparently when you're at more than 3/4 throttle, they turn off to give you maximum power. So interesting. So power ECU, and we should be able to crank this thing over and see if we've got life out of it, or if I've built a bomb.